Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you.
What are some of the mistakes that we make when we're parenting? During a sensitive time in my teens when I was moaning about my weight to my dear mum, in an effort to console me, she said, "Don't worry, dear, big thighs run in the family." Now, my mum had no intention of hurting my feelings or stressing me out. She'd never remember making this comment. However, as you can see, I haven't forgotten it. So what does that tell us about parenting and life in general? How easy it is to make a mistake. And it might not be something that you perceive as bad or mean, but it's how the other person takes it. Some mistakes we make are identifiable, and others we never know about. We can only hope that we'll be forgiven. Think about the many times that you've made mistakes. Parenting's a hard gig, so don't kick yourself, okay? Sometimes we make really bad mistakes, the ones we really wish we hadn't made, and we regret forever. And unfortunately, there's no coming back from them. Remember, you're not the only one. However, most mistakes are really just really important learning experience for each of us. They help us grow. I'm Kate Mason and welcome to Parenting and Personalities. This is the podcast that connects you to the ones you care about the most. Today we're going to talk about parenting mistakes, well, the ones that we know about, and how they can be a valuable learning experience, providing insights that contribute to personal growth and improve parenting skills. Now here are some lessons that can be gained from parenting mistakes. Mistakes offer an opportunity for self-reflection. By understanding the motivations behind certain actions or reactions can lead to increased self-awareness. Now, this self-awareness can help us as parents identify the areas that we might need for personal growth and development. Recognizing and acknowledging our mistakes fosters empathy towards oneself and others. Parents who can empathize with their own struggles are often better equipped to empathize with their children, creating a more compassionate and understanding family environment. Parenting often requires flexibility and adaptability. Mistakes can reveal the need for adjusting our parenting approaches based on the unique needs and personalities of each child. Parenting mistakes can be challenging, but overcoming them builds resilience. Resilience is a valuable trait that helps us as parents bounce back from setbacks. And we can then model coping strategies for our children and continue to navigate the ups and downs of parenting with a positive attitude.
Hi Kate, it's Camille here. So I'm looking at one thing that I think that I have done poorly in terms of parenting, and I'd say it's being too overprotective with the boys and just not letting them learn the hard way, always trying to fix everything and help them get through it without them, figuring it out themselves.
I'm a problem solver and enjoy it immensely. And unfortunately, I carried this over into my children's learnings and problem solved on their behalf, which taught them approximately nothing about problem solving.
A mistake I made in parenting. Wow, where do I begin? I think the biggest mistake I made in parenting was being really harsh and punishing my children when they were little, not having emotional intelligence when they were little, and just punishing them rather than disciplining them and coming alongside them to teach them well. And to have emotional intelligence in that teaching.
One of the many mistakes that I can think of is making my daughter do piano practice, forcing her really. She seemed to have some talent for it, and I thought if I made her do it, that it would be a good thing. Anyway, now that she's an adult, she hates the piano, won't go near it, and often tells me how traumatic all that was.
Hi, my name is Marianne. Life is always easier in hindsight, isn't it? But looking back, I guess I would allow my children to experience disappointment and failure a little more. I actually thought my job as a parent was to protect my children at any cost. However, I realise now, all these years later, it is actually to help them grow, experience pain, loss and disappointment, and to give them strategies to support them through these experiences. One thing we can definitely guarantee that life will give all our children is change and the inability to change anyone else except ourselves.
Hi Kate, and thanks for asking me about my worst and best parenting moments. It was an interesting question and one that I found a little bit challenging. But what I did was I decided to ask my son because I figured he'd be the one that could really answer that question, or at least give a perspective that I might not have. And he actually came back to me by text message straight away, and this is what he said was my worst parenting decision. He said, "I can't really fault you on anything, Mum, but if I had to say something, it would probably have been taking the global human resources role that kept you away for years, even though I understand why you did it." Now that's really an interesting one. I hadn't necessarily expected him to say that, but it's kind of not surprising because I took that role, I was in it for 5 years, and during the time that I was in that global role, I was travelling up to 50% of the year. So I was away a lot, and he was between the ages of 10 and 15. I guess it's just that evidence that no matter what your reasons for doing something career-wise might be, and as valid as they might be, your children just basically want you around.
Mistakes can stem from set expectations, and learning from them involves reassessing and adjusting those expectations. Setting realistic goals and understanding that parenting is a continuous learning process can contribute to a healthier and more balanced family dynamic. My children were chronic asthmatics from 6 months old, and they spent much of their primary years at home sick with asthma or croup. I could usually tell if they were unwell, and if they told me they were, I would let them stay home. My mistake was that I was so set in the patterns of their illness that I never doubted their integrity about being ill. Until one day when my daughter was 13 years old and I heard her in the back of the car talking to her friends. She told them how she'd stayed home the previous week, but she wasn't really sick. And she said, "But Mum believed me." This mistake in my judgment revealed to me the importance of effective communication, and it made me look at and refine my communication strategy with my growing kids. I obviously needed to review my lines of communication with them in order to ensure that messages were conveyed clearly. I sat and listened, and when we got home I said to her, "Were you really not sick enough to go to school last week?" Caught out, she looked at me, and then she started defending herself. Now I was okay with this, but I said to her, "Hey, you're growing up, and we need to do this differently. What we'll do from here on in is I'll take you to the doctors when you say you're sick, and then we'll both know." And that's how it worked out. Whenever they were sick, I would say, "Are you sick enough to go to the doctor?" If they didn't think they were, then they would go to school. Now, this was a really valuable lesson for me. I was so used to very sick young children who couldn't always voice their pain, and I'd still allowed the same process to happen. In reassessing my management of their illness and continuing to do so helped us all make age-appropriate adjustments, and as adults, their asthma has greatly improved. However, I do have just one more helicopter parent mistake to share with you, and it's happening at this very moment, and I'm still endeavouring to change it. I've always automatically bought my kids medication while they were living at home, and they only just moved out at 28 and 30. Now, they go to the doctors, and I promise I do let them go by themselves, and they get their scripts. I'm seriously trying not to micromanage them. However, when you first leave home and money's tight, and they don't make it a priority to spend money on their asthma medication. There have been some really scary moments where we've actually had to make dashes to the chemist to get Ventolin. Now, I'm trying to step back, but it's hard when someone else's life is in the balance. If you're listening today and you have some advice that you can share with me about this situation, please do. I'd love to hear it. Acknowledging and learning from mistakes demonstrates humility and a growth mindset, and it's a positive example for our children because it shows them that everyone makes mistakes, and that the key is to learn and grow from them. And I have explained and apologised to my children for the helicopter parenting. After all, I'm only human. We all make mistakes. My current goal is to reverse some of those mistakes and help them build life skills, the area I think that I've micromanaged, so that they can fly further out of that family nest without me snow-ploughing their way forward. Parenting is a lifelong learning journey. In essence, the key lies in not only avoiding mistakes altogether, but using them as stepping stones for personal and parental development. Now, here are some ways you can leverage mistakes to become a better parent. Take the time to reflect on your parenting decisions and actions. Consider the impact of your choices on your child's well-being and development. Identify specific mistakes that you've made and understand why they happened. Consider alternative approaches or solutions for similar situations in the future. If your mistake has affected your child, apologise sincerely. Admit that you were wrong. This is so hard, I know. However, it teaches your child the importance of taking responsibility for one's actions. Do recognise that parenting is a continuous learning process. Every day, we're going to face different challenges and we're going to make mistakes. So be willing to adapt your parenting style based on what works best for your child's personality, needs, and developmental stage, not for your personality and needs. Talk to people. Once you start a conversation, you'll be surprised by how many other people have had the same experience or made the same mistake. And don't hesitate to seek advice from other parents, friends, or professionals. Encourage your child to express their feelings and concerns and listen actively and validate those emotions, even if it means acknowledging your own mistakes. And set realistic expectations for you and your child and adjust them as your child grows and changes. Parenting can be challenging and mistakes may occur in times of stress or frustration. So practice your patience and develop coping skills to handle challenging situations more effectively. Knowledge is power. Stay informed about child development, parenting techniques, and relevant topics. Continuous learning can equip you with the knowledge to make informed decisions and adapt your parenting approach. And understand, nobody's perfect, and mistakes are a natural part of parenting. One of my greatest learnings as a parent only came 2 years ago, when I was 60. It took that long. I read a book that changed the way I listen to my kids and my husband. Now, I don't always get it right because it's really, really hard, but I practice every day. Now, let's talk about getting it right.
And one thing I think that I've done well is show them all the love that I can. I think that that's helped them get in touch with their emotions and also help them be able to show love and affection really freely.
Learning by example when it came to disagreements and arguments. Rather than have winners and losers, it was all about listening to each other and agreeing to disagree.
And the thing that I've got right is I've definitely learnt more about emotional intelligence, parenting, over the last few years. And I've learnt to understand neurodiversity a lot over the last couple of years. And so what I'm doing right at the moment is exactly what I did wrong when they were younger, is I'm coming alongside them with loads of empathy and understanding and trying to get to understand them and their motivations and why they're doing the things that they do and loving them through it all.
Something I feel that I got right was being really open with my daughter, with communication. We talked about everything. And tried to be as non-judgmental as possible, which has flowed into her adult life, and she just shares everything with me, and I'm a real confidant for her, which I think is fantastic.
We're always hard on ourselves, aren't we? So when someone asks us what we think we got right as a parent, I think it takes us a little longer to answer. I believe I got the love unconditionally part right. I always valued truthful and open communication and tried to be my authentic self, warts and all. I look at both my children now as they are fully grown and admire their values, their passion for life, and their deep love for their own children. I must have got something right, I guess.
And then the best thing I've done, what he said is, the best thing you've done was allowing me the freedom and opportunity to make mistakes and learn for myself, instead of coddling me and making it out to be that I'm perfect and having unrealistic expectations of me or for you and Dad. Doing that encouraged me to be honest and clear with you and Dad no matter what, giving the really trusting and encouraging relationship we have now. Whether good or bad, I can always feel like I can tell you and Dad the truth without severe judgment or repercussions for telling the truth. I admire you and Dad for doing that for me, because I can see with my friends and their relationships with their parents as adults that they still can't be as open and honest with their parents.
We don't want to dwell on our mistakes, and I'm sure you get many, many things right. But often these don't stick with us as much as our mistakes do. Listening to my friends' where I got it right moments, you'll hear that their right moments are often derived from the learnings from their mistakes. Have a think about how often you actually do get things right. Probably more than you imagine. Write down and celebrate 5 things that you got right this week. Remember that being a better parent is a continuous process, and everyone makes mistakes. The key is to approach these mistakes as opportunities for growth and improvement, creating a nurturing and positive environment for you and your child. I asked my son today if he could think of any mistakes he felt I'd made as a parent. He jokingly replied, only not letting me have blue Powerade and getting hyperactive and annoying like my friends. Wow, I must have done something right. A big thank you to my friends for sharing their mistakes and the things they got right with us all today. I'm Kate Mason, and thank you for listening to Parenting and Personalities. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you could leave a rating and a review that would help others learn about this podcast. If you're interested in discovering more about you and your family's personality types, you'll find my book, Who Is This Monster or Treasure, in my house on Booktopia or Amazon. If you have an episode idea, please send a note to thepersonalitycoach@gmail.com. Many thanks to our producers at Stories and Strategies, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you.